In this video, we will talk about some of the key concepts of Kubernetes application deployment. Number one, replica set. Replica sets guarantees that a specific number of identical pods are running at any given time, maintaining availability and scalability. Automatic pod replacement. If a pod fails or get deleted, replica set automatically creates a new one and replace it. Ensure desired number of set. Here is an example of that. So assume we deployed a replica set and it has three pods, and it will ensure three pods are always running. And if by mistake or something happens, crashes, one pod get deleted by mistake or it goes to a boot loop, replica set will try to maintain minimum three pods at any given time. And a lot of time the confusion comes along, what is the deployment then? Because both are actually doing the same, but not the same, but similar. So deployments are, I would say, a better way of managing a replica set. So as per the definition, a deployment automates the creation, scaling, management of the replica set, ensuring desired pod availability. Supports rolling updates. If you just deploy using a simple replica set, it does not have that feature. So you cannot do a rolling updates. You cannot do automatic rollback. And also deployment makes it very declarative to manage the state of the pod and letting Kubernetes handle rest of it. It is very good for infrastructure as code and if you want to do as a GitHub action. So here is a quick example of difference between deployment and replica set. You can see in the replica set, you only have the replica set, that's it. But if you use deployments to manage the replica set, you have added advantage of rolling updates and other features. Here is a quick example of differences and similarities between deployment and replica sets. In general, deployments are preferred way of managing. Replica set is a very unique case where you want to have some kind of custom deployment. However, I would say 9 out of 10, I always use deployment. So primary purpose, manage replica sets and control application lifecycle, updates, rollbacks. Replica set only ensure the specific number of identical pods are running. Rolling updates, support rolling updates to ensure zero downtime during application updates. Replica set does not handle updates, just maintain number of replicas. Automatic rollback can automatically roll back to a previous version if fails. No support for that. Abstraction layer, high level abstraction that manage the replica set. And replica set is a lower level, more granular control of the pod and replica. Use case preferred for application deployment, scaling, and version control. And replica set is used for a fine grained control or a specific use case. Pod management, it automatically creates and manages the replica set to handle the pod, and replica set directly manages the pod. So you see the few of the examples. And now what we'll do, we'll switch to a hands-on lab and we deploy on the cluster and see how they are different. Now let's do the hands-on lab. In this lab, I have a VS Code open and I have the terminal and I will be copy pasting the deployment files here and as we do the lab. And all the content of it is available on the GitHub repo. I'll share a link in the below. So first thing I'll do, I'll just create a replica deployment file. I copy paste from buffer, save it, call it replica set.yaml. So you can see in this one, what I'm saying is API version 1 and the kind is replica set. So it's very specific. And this is the metadata, which means the name of that the deployment that I'm doing. And it tells me the specs, the how many replicas I'm looking for, 3 pods minimum I want. And in this case, I'm deploying an Nginx, simple Nginx container. So first, let me check my Kubernetes cluster. I see how many nodes I have. So you can see I have 2 nodes for experimentation purpose. And now I can go ahead and do the deployment. So to deploy, I just need to do apply. So you can see it says created. And now next thing I'm going to do is I need to see pods. You can see 3 pods are deployed. They are right now creating. And if I do maybe wait for a few seconds and run it, it should be in a running state. So that my this replica set was deployed successfully. And I can do query a little bit more. I can go replica set. So it tells me my replica set has 3 desired, current is also 3, and everything is, so this is working. And the key value of having a replica set is that I can actually scale it. Assume I want to scale it to 5 pods instead of 3. I can simply do scale replica set and give my replica set the name which I gave here. This is the metadata, and I'm setting it to 5. Once I do it, if there is no error or mistake happen, it will successfully scale it. If I query it one more time, what it says, I have one active replica set which is now desired set. You can see earlier it was 3, now it's 5. When I query the pods, I will see I have 5 pods running. So that is a simple way of doing a replica set. And now let's move to a deployment. And you will see how deployment is actually a higher level abstraction of the same thing. So let's go and create a deployment file. In this one, I'm specifying kind as a deployment and I'm giving the name as a my deployment. And for example, I have given here replica to be 2. This is my deployment, and I'm using the selector as a match level for my app. I'm just calling it a random my app. You can call any name. And in order to deploy it, I can do a simply kubectl apply. I need to save it. It was deployed, and I just need to query it one more time. It says my deployment as per the metadata, and right now it is actually 2. And if I see the how many pods are running, I will see 2. So these are my 2 pods, and this is from the old replica sets. So I didn't delete it, just for example purpose. And now assume I want to, the feature I want to show it here, that in replica set you really don't have means to upgrade or downgrade the version of the application. Example, here I'm using nginx latest version. Say if I want to say use a different version of nginx, so I can simply set it up as a set image deployment, and I'm using 1.21. If I do that, it says immediately updated. And if I query right now, and I don't have to do anything, now Kubernetes will make sure my deployment, the replica set, all these images are up to date with this particular version. And you can see now it says it has been deployed. If I query one more time, get PO, and if I want to get a little bit more detail about it, I can do describe pod, and if I want to see, you can see the image version is exactly what I wanted. So that is the one way of doing. Assume something went wrong and you don't want this 1.21 version, you can always do a rollback. So rollback is pretty straightforward command. I do a rollback, and now if I do the query one more time, see rollback was done. And if I do the again one more time, if I do the describe, of course describe will not work because it has deployed a new pod right now. So I need to do a describe on this one, and you'll see you can see nginx is the latest one. So this is a simple and quick illustration of how how a deployment and replica set are different but similar at the same time, and when to use what. As mentioned, in most practical cases, you will be choosing for a deployment rather than replica set unless for a very specific reason.